You think your automatic transmission is built to withstand anything, right? That it's foolproof? Let me tell you, that little gear selector can be a direct line to a repair bill that costs more than a decent vacation. Today, we're not just listing mistakes, we're dissecting the habits that are silently murdering your car's gearbox. These aren't just minor slip-ups, they are the fast track to transmission failure. So if you want to avoid that gut-wrenching feeling of a slipping gear and a multi-thousand-dollar invoice, stick with me. We're about to make you a smarter driver. 1. The fluid fiasco. Why water and the wrong oil are a death sentence. Let's start with the absolute lifeblood of your transmission, the fluid. Most people ignore it until it's way too late. First, let's talk about water. That seemingly harmless puddle on the road, it could be an executioner for your gearbox. Your transmission has vents on it to release internal pressure. On most regular passenger cars, these vents are shockingly low. If you drive through deep water, it doesn't just splash the outside, it can get sucked right into those vents. Once water mixes with your automatic transmission fluid, it creates this thick, milky sludge that destroys the glue holding the clutch packs together. This isn't damage that happens over months. It can happen in a matter of hours. The transmission will start slipping, and soon enough, it will fail completely. There's no coming back from that. And speaking of fluid, using the wrong type is just as bad. You wouldn't put diesel in a gasoline engine, right? The same logic applies here. Your car's manual specifies a very particular type of fluid, maybe a Dexron 6, a Mercon 5, or an ATF Plus 4. These aren't just brand names, they are complex chemical formulas designed for specific friction coefficients and heat tolerances. Grabbing a universal fluid off the shelf can lead to shifting problems, overheating, and rapid wear. So stick to what the manufacturer recommends and get that fluid changed. They say it's lifetime fluid? There's no such thing. Check it regularly. If it's not bright red and smells burnt, it's time for a change, usually around every 80,000 kilometers. 2. Parking and stopping. The small habits that cause big damage. You pull into a parking spot, shift straight into park, and turn the car off. Sounds normal, right? You could be putting an incredible amount of stress on a tiny piece of metal inside your transmission. This piece is called the parking pawl. It's a small pin that locks into a gear on the output shaft to stop your car from rolling. It's designed to hold a stationary car, not to stop a moving one. When you shift into park while the car is still rolling, even just a little bit, you slam that pin into the gear. You might even hear a clunk or a grinding noise. Do that enough times and that pawl will wear down or worse, snap. If it breaks, your car might not stay parked when you need it to, and broken metal pieces could start circulating inside your transmission. The other big parking mistake is relying solely on that little pin, especially on a hill. You need to use your parking brake, or as some call it, your handbrake. That brake is designed to hold the weight of the car. The parking pawl is not. The correct way to park, every single time, is this. Come to a complete stop, keep your foot on the brake pedal, shift the gear selector into neutral, pull the parking brake up firmly, then take your foot off the brake pedal. You'll feel the car settle its weight onto the parking brake. Only then should you shift into park and turn off the engine. This takes all the strain off that little pawl and puts it on the system designed to handle it. 3. The heat is on. How you're cooking your transmission at a red light. Heat is the #1 killer of automatic transmissions, and you might be generating a ton of it without even realizing it, just sitting at a traffic light. When your car is in drive but you're stopped with your foot on the brake, the engine is still trying to move the car forward. Inside the transmission, the torque converter is slipping and churning fluid to prevent the engine from stalling. This process generates a massive amount of heat. On a hot day, your transmission fluid temperature can spike by 10 to 15 degrees Celsius in just a few minutes of waiting at a light. This constant heat breaks down the fluid and accelerates wear on all the internal seals and clutches. The simple fix? If you're going to be stopped for more than 30 seconds, just slip the gear selector into neutral. This disengages the torque converter, allowing the fluid to circulate more freely and cool down, taking the stress off the system. This same principle applies to long, steep downhill drives. Riding the brakes the whole way down not only wears out your brake pads, but also forces the transmission to work harder and generate more heat. Instead, shift down to a lower gear, maybe second or L, or use the manual mode on your shifter. This uses engine braking to help control your speed, saving your brakes and keeping your transmission from overheating. Quick break. We're growing this channel together. Like, comment, and subscribe to support for free. You can also send a super thanks or become a member to join me directly on this journey. Let's continue. 4. The shifting shockwave, moving between gears the wrong way. Your automatic transmission is a masterpiece of hydraulic and mechanical engineering, but it's not invincible. It hates sudden shocks. One of the worst things you can do is shift from drive to reverse or from reverse to drive before the car has come to a complete and total stop. When you do that, you're forcing the transmission's internal bands and clutches to act as a brake, absorbing the entire momentum of the car. This sends a massive shockwave through the entire drivetrain. It's an incredibly violent act for the machinery, and it's a surefire way to cause expensive damage. Newer cars have safeguards and won't even let the gear engage until the car stops, but in many vehicles, you're directly causing harm. Another bad habit is coasting down a hill in neutral. Some people think this saves fuel, but it's a myth in modern cars. When you're in drive and you take your foot off the gas, the car's computer cuts fuel flow to the injectors anyway, so you're not saving fuel. What you are doing is removing your ability to accelerate instantly in an emergency and putting extra wear on your brakes since you have no engine braking to help you slow down. Plus, shifting from neutral back into drive while moving can be a jarring experience for the transmission. Just leave it in drive. It's safer, more efficient, and what your car is designed to do. 5. The cold start problem and the warning lights you ignore. Cars don't like being woken up on a cold morning, and transmissions especially hate it. Unlike your engine, which builds heat quickly, the transmission takes much longer to warm up. The hydraulic fluid, the transmission oil, gets thick when it's cold, kind of like honey. Trying to force thick, cold fluid through the tiny passages inside the transmission causes slow, delayed shifts and puts a lot of strain on the internal components. When you start your car after it's been sitting all night in the cold, give it a minute. You don't have to wait forever, but let the engine idle for 30 seconds to a minute to get the fluids moving gently before you put it in gear. And for the first few minutes of your drive, take it easy, no hard acceleration. Let everything come up to its proper operating temperature. Just as important as a gentle start is paying attention to what your car is telling you. That dashboard is not a Christmas tree. Those lights mean something important. We all know the check engine light, but the transmission temperature light is critical. If that comes on, you are actively overheating your transmission and need to pull over safely and let it cool. The oil pressure light indicates a lubrication problem that can destroy your engine in seconds. The battery light means your charging system is failing and you could be stranded soon. Ignoring these warnings is like ignoring a doctor telling you that you have a serious health problem. Address them immediately to prevent a small issue from becoming a catastrophic failure. 6. The get-out-of-jail-free card you're using wrong. When you're stuck. Sooner or later, it happens to everyone. Your wheels are stuck in snow, mud, or sand. Your first instinct might be to just floor the gas pedal and hope for the best. This is just about the most destructive thing you can do to your automatic transmission. When your wheels are spinning freely without traction, it generates an insane amount of heat inside the transmission very, very quickly. That heat can cook your transmission fluid, damage the seals, and burn up your clutch packs in no time. Worse yet, if a spinning wheel suddenly finds traction, the shock that sends back through the axle and into the transmission can be enough to break hard parts. So when you're stuck, the first thing to do is stay calm. Don't just mash the gas. Try to gently rock the car by shifting smoothly and slowly between drive and reverse, applying only the slightest bit of throttle. The goal is to build a little bit of a track for yourself, not to have a burnout competition with a mud puddle. Use your floor mats, some sand, or even kitty litter under the drive wheels to try and get some traction. Check if your car has a snow mode or an option to turn off traction control, as this can sometimes help by allowing a small, controlled amount of wheel spin. Patience is your best friend here. A few minutes of careful maneuvering can save you from a repair that costs thousands and a long walk home. What's the worst transmission mistake you've ever seen someone make? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching.